everybody. Welcome to Nexus at Night, your weekly Vanguard podcast, brought to you by our patrons, patreon.com/Nexus at Night. I'm Atlas.
I'm Matt.
I'm Root Beer.
And I'm Commanderjaime.
Welcome back to the show, Commanderjaime.
Thanks for the invite, guys. Happy to be on.
Yeah, victorious second place champion of the premium format of Springfest 2021.
That's true.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It was a fun day.
A fun day at home in your pajamas, because that's what I did.
I was in shorts, because my room did get hot after a while. So.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
Yeah, because, you did a video about your experience on your channel, which linked in the description, but, so you had, a full-on setup there. You had, a ring light and your camera, and looked like a movie studio in there.
Yeah, pretty much the stuff that I use for my YouTube videos. I was like, maybe I could use it for, remote fight, and it turned out to be really good quality, the camera that I just bought. So, it's sometimes a challenge to see other people's cards when their cameras aren't that great. Yeah, so I didn't want to be that person, and so I invested into a camera that was decent at least. Mm-hmm. That wasn't my phone.
Right.
There was some of the Swiss matches in Premium where I was like, I can't even tell what the cards are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was the same in Standard, too. You would be like, okay, what is that one? They're like, this is Dark Strange Writing. You're like, I'm just going to believe you. I hope that's what it is.
You just have to, sometimes you just have to,
Yeah, sometimes my opponent will intercept with the card, wait, that's a grade 2?
And they're like, yeah. And then they hold it up to the camera. I'm like, okay, all right, I believe you.
Yeah. Or, I remember the first game when, the person checked the crit. I'm like, I will take your word for it.
Wait, what if that was a deliberate form of cheating? Because when the judges would pop in to check on you, they would only see if your cards were on the field. They didn't really care about camera quality. They were just like,
no,
okay.
They did care about camera quality. I saw a few people getting dinged for that, but it would have to be excessively bad for them to actually say anything.
Yeah. So. To those listening to this in the future, or those who don't know, Springfest this year, due to COVID, was all done in remote fight over Discord. So people were, I played people in Malaysia, in the Philippines, in the Netherlands. It was crazy, just being matched up with people all over the world.
Yeah. Though, to be fair, we were also signed up for the Asia Oceanica tournament because...
Yeah. I played against 2 Americans, too, so it's not like we were the only ones with that idea.
People from all over were signing up for everything, just noting that we were playing in the Asia region because, at least when I was looking at the forums, I just clicked on the wrong one, and by the time I thought to sign up for the actual NA tournament, it was a minute before the deadline, so there was no way I was getting in even on the wait list.
The North America one interfered with stuff I had to do in my real life, so I was like, oh, okay.
The V-Meme one got super full.
Which one? The
V-Meme.
Oh, the premium one, yeah.
No, V Premium.
Oh, V Premium.
Yeah. The freemium one.
V-Meme. V-Meme.
Oh, I thought he was saying memium,
no.
Okay.
That's also applicable? No, I'm kidding.
Prismium.
Okay.
I could have contributed to that, but I just really don't feel like playing V right now.
Me neither.
Play the broken deck.
I'm over it. I'm literally only keeping one deck for V Premium, and it's Great Nature because duh. And
I have Tachis and Spikes, both bad, but both fun.
I mean, you have Anger Blader. What are you complaining about?
Well, no, I'd play Gaia if I played.
I have the best clan, Bermuda Triangle.
Oh, that works out.
The Gaia deck is so fun.
Yeah. So to clarify, there's going to be no details about V Premium because none of us bothered to do anything, right?
That's correct. Right. I decided that I wanted to sleep and or watch League of Legends instead.
Smart.
I wanted to sleep and I could not be bothered to unsleeve my Prism deck that's built for Premium and re-sleeve it for V Premium.
Makes sense. I wanted to sleep / I had to sleep because of my medical condition, where if I don't get enough sleep, my brain hits all the switches at once. And, that's what seizures are. So, good stuff.
Very cool.
Yep. So, just in general, where it was done over Discord, how was the speed of getting the rounds done compared to doing it in real life, do you think?
For me specifically, or are we going round robin, or?
Yeah, round robin. Start it off.
Okay. So
Yeah.
for me, since I did premium, I felt like the North American one would take forever because there would be a couple tables that would actually go into overtime and then still take a couple minutes more to like wrap up those games though. So generally a round lasted almost 45 minutes to 50 minutes, where it's supposed to be like 35 or 30 or something like that with an addition of 10 minutes of overtime. The reason that I say that they were pretty long is because with my games, since I played an aggro version of Fenrir, I would pretty much be done in 15, 20 minutes. So I'd pretty much be chilling the half of the round, and that's where I would like get out of the room, get a break, eat something like a snack or talk to somebody like my wife or anything like that, and then finally just check the parents. I'm like, oh, they're still going. I guess just chill for a little bit, making sure that, I don't want to miss out the next round and just, lose because of it. But overall, it seemed to take a lot longer than they should for me.
Okay.
And then top 8 was even longer, too. I know that once they said top 8 was going to start, we waited another 20-25 minutes, though. I don't even know why. Maybe it's like the Twitch stream or something. I'm not sure. That's what I'm assuming.
Or commentators.
Yeah, or somebody in top 8 was not ready and they were holding up everybody else, so I'm not sure.
God.
Didn't they say the Twitch stream was on like a delay, so it was to prevent cheating? Where
10 minutes.
10 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So, I don't know. Root Beer, how'd it go for you?
I mean, you were in there too, so you know that the first round was ridiculously long because they had to take care of like technical issues and stuff like that. So I think that round was like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And then after that, it started going more smoothly. Like rounds were generally around 40 minutes.
Yeah. And I think it's just because how standard works, where like there's not a lot of as much thinking, right?
Yeah, there's not as much going on, so I know personally my matches all finish within like 15-20 minutes.
Me too.
And honestly, like I have no idea what is going on with the people who went the full round time, like
Orphist. They were playing Orphist.
But Orphist is not a complicated deck.
It's not that, it's just it grinds for a long time, right?
Well, I don't know. Vanguard players, I think, and like, do you all remember when I ran best of 3 events and people would play Angel Feather?
Yes.
And they could not finish like a game in 50 minutes?
Yes.
It's that problem, right?
Yeah. Like, I think Vanguard players are just like not used to playing quickly.
That could be true.
Yeah. Well, because I know, at least for me, I quit Yu-Gi-Oh! Because it was too fast, too complicated. And Vanguard was simpler and a little slower. So maybe it's like an extreme version of that, where they're like, I want it slow, and I'm going to make it slow, whether no matter what I do.
Maximum 10 turns, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, you should be able to finish a game of Vanguard within 20 minutes.
Yeah. It's, I mean, all things considered, doing the rounds in real life takes longer, I think.
Yeah.
It depends on the size of the event.
Yeah.
So I think for small events, you can actually, the turnaround's much, much, much faster.
Yeah.
For an event like this, I think, actually, I think it would depend if the technical difficulties were like pairing related or if the technical difficulties were simply stream related.
Yeah.
Obviously, if they're stream related, real life would have gone faster.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
being pairing related, it would have been the same. But I do think it's kind of a bit more of a hassle getting people paired online more so than real life.
Why is that?
Because you can't just tell them to go to a table, right?
Oh, okay.
Because you're like, oh, do you go to this Discord channel or whatever?
Well, they have the
Yeah.
tables numbered, and then you would just go to the website and look up your number. And especially...
Even that process confused a lot of people, us included.
I mean, it was like that at the first round, but after that it was easier, like you said. And especially because I would just go, all right, here are the new pairings. I would go Control F, type in Atlas. Whoop, there it is. There's me.
I mean, they had yeah.
Yeah. And also, like, mandatory 10 minutes for check-in because they gotta make sure people get there. So
Yeah.
there were several cases where both of us would be in the room right away, and then we'd just sit around for like 5 minutes because we're still waiting for everyone to get checked in and started.
Yep.
Yeah.
I had that experience too.
Yeah, it would just be a thing where you're like, okay, we're ready, and they're like, no, we gotta wait for the judge to show up.
Yeah.
The judge would show up and be like, 5 more minutes, guys, and then pop away. You're like, can't we just go? Like, we're here. But
Yeah. But the bonus to being online is you don't need to do the simultaneous stand-up Vanguard
oh
thing.
god, yes.
I forgot half the time to do that.
Yeah, no. I'm pretty sure I would... Because we could also just see each other's deck list, so we already went into it like, oh, you're playing Hexa Orb. Alright, cool.
What a bizarre decision.
So I like to chime in about that. Like, I don't understand why we're able to see each other's deck lists in the tournament. Like,
I don't mind it for top 8, and that's mostly because like then it's kind of like an information network to like figure out what your opponent's playing, and it just skips that basically. But like in Swiss, it makes no sense to me.
Right. That's what
I think it's because it's online and to prevent cheating. Because if someone decides they want to slide in cards they didn't put on their registered list, nothing's really stopping them.
I mean, the biggest thing I saw over the weekend, or over the last weekend, I guess, was some Weiss player not shuffling properly. They would literally like pile shuffle, no additional shuffling, and present.
Not even the 1, 2, 3 thing.
It's just nothing, and I'm just like,
Wow,
or no, they do the 1, 2, 3 thing, but that's still not sufficient randomization. Pile shuffling is not shuffling.
That's really another form of pile shuffling.
Right. So like,
that's true. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, so pile shuffling is actually used in a very old sheet called the double nickel, where basically you pile shuffle in like piles of 5 twice. And since it doesn't sufficiently randomize your deck will always be in like a certain order.
Oh, I've heard of that before.
It's like my Spotify playlist.
So I kind of think like as a card game, well, as card game players in general, pile shuffling I would like to be kind of viewed, as like a whole as kind of like sketchy on its own. I at least want it to have kind of that connotation, and it just does not and will not apparently, because I think like people get away with a lot, and it's also a good way for players to waste time. So I played a lot of in Magic the Gathering when I played a lot of control decks because I like playing control decks a lot. I enjoy control mirrors even because I think they're very. I enjoy resource based. Low win condition games.
That might explain his love of the equip gauge. I'm kidding.
And then, but like when you go into game 3, you have like 12 minutes on the clock.
Yeah.
And your opponent starts pile shuffling, I am livid.
Yeah.
Because that's wasting about a minute of time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I never had an opponent pile shuffle. Like they would just do what's that called? Like shotgun shuffling, where they just shove the piles together and then
you just need a riffle. You just need a riffle.
Riffle shuffle. That's what I was thinking of. Shotgun shuffling is where you go, or it's the two things like usually what you do with like poker cards, like that.
Yeah, riffling is fast, efficient, does the job.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And when my favorite thing is when people defend I've seen this happen several times. Like I've had conversations with people in like various Discord servers. Not going to name any servers, but basically I'd be like, pile shuffling is like basically cheating, or like it's like, and then they'd be like, but I like if they won't say it as like directly, but their argument will basically turn into, but I draw better when I pile shuffle.
Yeah,
I'm like,
well, yeah,
exactly.
Blink, 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 blink.
Yeah. So for me, like I riffle shuffle about 5-7 times. Usually 7 times is the best number. I actually had an opponent once he riffle shuffled 7 times too. So I honestly like riffle shuffling because the randomization is actually really good. So you get a mix of everything whenever you do, drawing or drive checks and damage checks. Like I see it more like actually like randomization instead of like, oh, I got 3 heals stacked together because of a damage check or something, or a drawing or something, something crazy like that, where other shuffling isn't enough because sometimes, in the prior game, you use certain cards and sometimes they pile up together,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you guard with triggers, so your drop zone has like 10 triggers in it.
Right.
Like,
Just like, yeah, just riffle like 5 to 7 times, let your opponent cut if they want to, and then like move on.
I just
Takes,
riffle
like-
till I'm done thinking about whatever I'm thinking about.
Do you do it just kind of as like a idle hands thing, like just
Well,
or
that outside of games, yeah, definitely.
Mhm.
But no, like, because in Magic you shuffle a lot,
yeah.
especially in like back when I used to play Modern, because you had fetch lands all the time.
Mhm.
So like you just kind of like shuffle, and then like I pretty much have already had my next play decided by the time
Right.
I'm done shuffling. Or like we'll probably have my next play decided at the end of my opponent's turn, honestly.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because I try to do all my thinking on my opponent's turn.
Yeah. Or like
Yeah, one of. Oh,
It-
go ahead, Alice. You
it-
first.
it would be like one of those things where if you go into your deck for something, you're about to shuffle, and you're like, I'm about to go into it again. Are you okay? Like, just I'm gonna do this next.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and that's fine with me as long as people are like, I'm going back in there like 3
Yeah.
or 4 times. I'm like, oh okay, you go ahead.
Can you imagine Yu-Gi-Oh players shuffling between every actual like real action?
Oh, gosh, yeah.
What were you gonna say, Jaime?
For me, one of the things that I was observing is like making sure people shuffle one correctly too, but also properly. Like one of the things I think it was in my finals, I asked my opponent if he can shuffle the riffle shuffle more at an angle because he was doing it almost like
He could
90
see.
degrees, where he
Mhm.
can see the cards or something. I'm like, hey, just do it at an angle, please. You
Yeah.
know? And I'm not accusing him of cheating or anything, but it's just like, hey, can you do that for me? He's like, absolutely. I'm like, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And sometimes we have like those bad habits, and it's kind of like
Yeah.
hard to be aware of it, but it's just like, hey, let's just make sure things are all good. That's all.
Yeah, no, I was trying to be conscious of that when I was shuffling, like, oh wait, I can kind of see my cards right now.
Right. And then I think this is a good transition point too onto part of the experience is like, for me, like you're supposed to have your cards from your hand too
Yeah.
at all
Yeah.
times. in
That
view,
was
and
so
that was
hard to
challenging.
maintain.
Yes, that was challenging, and
Yep.
I was patient with people, and and also unconsciously sometimes that I would like lean back, right, just to rest my back or something, and then it's like, oh shoot, my hands need to make sure I have my cards in the camera stuff, or I just leave the cards on the mat itself, you know,
Yeah.
and then I can lean back. But
Mhm.
then I noticed at the like round 7, I was facing Derek, and we're both undefeated at the point. And Derek, he put his cards on his playmat, so it was in view. That was correct.
Yeah.
And then he leaned back or something, and so the point is his hands were no longer in view. One of the judges actually pointed it out, like, "Hey, can you also put your hands on view too?" And he's like, "But I thought we just needed our cards in view." He's like, "Well, to make sure that no cheating happens at all, we would like to also see the hands too on view." Like, oh, okay, sure, you know. And it just got stricter.
Oh, is that what they
yeah,
meant by
right.
hands? I thought they meant.
Yeah, I thought you meant like just put your like like you put the cards you're holding in your hand on the table. Like that was
Yeah, that's what he did, right?
Yeah.
That's so.
'Cause that's what I
thought
interpreted
also
as too.
dance hands.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Which
Huh.
makes sense. Like, who knows what you could be doing like off screen while your hands are away, but
I just imagine somebody like before this tournament starts, like Houdini's first magic kit, and he's like trying to like perfect sleight of hand so he can like slip stuff in there.
Perfect sleight of hand.
Yeah. Or he's like, abracadabra, my hand now has a heel so I can G guard or whatever.
That's true.
So, I guess do any other things we want to talk about for the event itself before we go into our personal experiences of like round by round here, or
I mean,
Peter's.
how was
great.
like the quality of your opponents? Was everyone like generally pretty nice and polite?
yeah, they were all real nice. I would try and like before the judges showed up to be like, you can start. I would ask them like, where are you calling from? Who have you played so far? How's it going for you? That kind of thing.
The thing you do at another event.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But sometimes people are just like, I gotta get my game face on. I'm not talking to you at all. You're like, relax.
I gotta stand
You're,
with the
play,
finger.
you're playing for Alfred, King of Knights. Chill.
You will have your blaster blade.
Yeah. Was it like that in the top 8?
No, I think for me overall, like the whole experience, everybody was nice. I noticed a lot of people wanted to chit chat, even if it was small talk too. I was like, oh wow, it seemed like a lot of people were craving that connection with people, and even at the event. Sometimes like we don't even think about it. Sometimes like we go and play at events, but sometimes it's nice to also like talk about certain things. Like one of the things that I was talking to people, it's like yeah, I survived round 1 with Morkumo. They did their no doubt turn. They dropped Hull on me and everything, so I was pretty much gone. But then the overtrigger, resolved on my 5th, 6th damage, and I lived. And then I came back and actually won that. So, have you seen any overtriggers resolve in your end? And so people were just talking about that. So it's one of those hot topics that people are talking about.
Oh yeah, whether I won or lost, I would always say overtriggers are dumb, and then literally everyone was like, "Yeah, they are." I'm like,
so. And even in top 8, we were all courteous. So like, one of the things that I appreciate from everybody in top 8, it's like, hey, if you need to take some time on doing a play, that's fine, and if you need me to clarify a skill or even show you the card as close as possible to the camera, just let me know. And I was like, wow, thank you. I mean, I'll do the same thing. So if you have any questions, I'll do my best to make sure that I say the skills or ask if you need to clarify on some things with my deck too. So it was very polite, very nice, and very open, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It was like we're all unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt after being stuck in a bunker for 20 years. We're like, oh my god, human interaction!
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, trying to think of, like, if anything else, like, occasionally someone would be like, hey, what does that card do? And you gotta be like, okay, this does this does this, this one can attack from back row now, etc.
I had somebody ask me, like, I thought Gojo was GB1. I'm like, actually, no, it just requires the Fenrir name. They're like, huh.
Yeah, and, like, show it to the camera. They're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then that's it.
Yeah, and I told them, like, if you needed time to look it up, go ahead on your phone.
Yeah. Or, like, I started calling my cards their nicknames that I have for them instead of the actual name. Because, like, by round 4, I was like, all right, I'm sick of going, all right, Karis, Geonosla. I was just like, Bulbasaur and Glow Nipples. That's what it is now.
Glow nipple.
It's accurate! What do you want from me?
I hate it so much.
What, the nickname or the actual card? Yes.
I'm pretty sure the nickname.
So, I don't know. He gets frustrated with me easily, but we love each other. So, I guess, do we want to, like, ramp up to Jaime, or do we want to start with Jaime? Because he has the most interesting trajectory here.
I guess we can ramp up because I probably have the least interesting trajectory because I dropped the fastest out of all of us.
Well, then, kick us off, Root Beer.
Yeah, so I only did 5 of the 8 rounds, but both because I was X3 at that point and also just tired and didn't feel like playing all that much anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So, my first round was against Orphist. It was not the greatest round ever. I had a really bad opening hand. It was half triggers and a couple of grade 1s. I never Persona rode. I don't think I ever drew Lepisto either. Like, I had lost the game with all my counterblasts open, which shouldn't be happening if my deck was actually doing what I wanted it to. So, I feel like the game against Orphist was winnable if I had actually gotten all of the cards I wanted, but I also don't want to be that guy who's like, I could have won if I drew better. So,
Right.
I'm going to say that the game was winnable. I'm not going to say I would have won. So,
I feel like the phrase would have won has to be said like this. I would have won!
yeah. So, yeah. And I don't want to be that guy. So I'm going to say I think the matchup was winnable. I just didn't have a very good... I just didn't have good luck that one.
Mm-hmm.
So... I lost that round, and then the second match was against Zorga, where, in the exact opposite fashion, I checked every trigger in my deck.
Hell
Just, I over-triggered first on my first ride, which kind of sucked, but at least I had a rearguard column to take advantage of it. And then, I just kept, like, critting him every round. I would keep top-decking all of my Hexa Orbs. I swear I wasn't cheating.
Well, after you Persona Ride, it's pretty hard to not crit them.
Yeah. But also, like, top-decking my Persona ride every turn.
Well, that's called skill, actually.
Yeah, I just totally outskilled that Zorga player.
Yeah,
And then, I think third round was a Hexa Orb Mirror. It was a combination of like my opening was worse than his. He was able to call more stuff to rush early, but also I misplayed partway through. I forgot to attack with Lepisto first when I knew I had triggers on top of my deck. So yeah, I misplayed that game, and a little bit of bad luck in the end where I didn't get any triggers and couldn't Persona Ride on my last turn. So that was a close game, could have gone either way, but I think combination of my opponent had a better early rush than me because of just the way our decks were built, and me forgetting to use Lepisto early on, I lost that one.
Mm.
And then,
Lepisto's the restander, right?
yes.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, so I just forgot to use her during my first ride when I had triggers.
Yeah, excuse me. I sometimes forget which card is which.
Me
Yeah,
too.
no problem.
Because Vanguard names are really silly.
Yeah. Or
And then,
it'll just be like, yeah, Matt. You're like,
I
who the
know-
fuck is Matt?
I know all the grade 3s that like I play in Bastion, but like Fasado, Alden, Refluke, no idea
Yeah.
what the angel's name is.
don't worry, I play Bastion and I don't know what the angel's name is.
It is Kokabio, apparently.
Don't get me started on Nubatama cards.
Oh god.
Oh my god.
Mer-
Those
yeah.
are impossible. I
You try making the deck list for that? Oh my gosh, it takes a
Yeah.
long time.
Did I
Yeah,
spell
typing
right?
out the deck. At least we could type the deck list this time.
Yeah.
And then fourth round was against Bruce, and once again I outskilled my opponent by getting 2 crits and an overtrigger on my Persona Ride turn.
I
Chad.
see.
And then round 5 was against Eugene, where I got outskilled because
You
they
played the
knew-
one. You played the one Eugene player. You did it.
Yeah, different fights feet. That was actually his Discord name.
Oh my god.
I'm aware.
Wait, you said it was different fight or somebody?
No, it was
different
somebody
fights
named
feet. That's what
different
he
fights feet.
What-
That's what he named.
Oh, okay.
it's
But yeah.
secretly Quentin Tarantino who took up Vanguard, and he's like, yeah, that's it.
Which is very weird to me.
He attacked me with Eugene, boosted by Tri-Bash, so it had the crit, and then he double crit me. The game didn't end
Holy
there, but the game ended there.
So
Take
your,
quad crit.
your death nail was Eugene.
Yes,
Oh my god.
I got outskilled.
Ultimately, that makes sense.
That would happen to him, you know. So
Although I do think that guy was legitimately just good at playing the game too.
oh, that's good. So you're not kidding when you say outskilled, like he was good at the
Like,
game.
yeah, I think the way he played was actually skilled, but also like 4 crit attack.
I remember that guy. I remember Different Fight Feet making a play on camera. So he was on stream at one point,
Yeah,
and he made a play where he was against Bastion,
yeah.
and Bastion had Alden Fasado in front row, and this was against the Bastion player who called the Bastion behind Vanguard
Mm.
with off Alden. So it went call Fasado, call Alden, CB2 Soul Blast 1, called the Bastion Grade 3 behind Vanguard.
Okay.
And Drew 2,
Mhm.
which is a misplay because you can just call Alden, call Fasado.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like, what? And and then the Eugene player on his next turn rested 2 units for Eugene.
Yeah.
So
Right.
and then retired the Bastion behind Vanguard.
Okay. Yeah, that is like
Which is
weird,
like
Why?
just kill the Alden.
Yeah.
right?
The deck it's the best attacker in the deck by a lot.
And kind of advantage engine, sort of.
Mhm.
Like, it's
Well,
very
I mean,
important.
its advantage is on play, right?
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
Oh.
but like you still kill it because it's a 20k attacker at minimum.
Mhm. Or 22 because of Bastion.
No, I'm counting that. It gets
Oh,
plus
okay.
one.
Oh, right. Sorry. Okay.
Anyway, I was just like, come on.
Yeah.
Which
I
Well,
wanted
he
to
played
say-
well against me, but I don't know that I'm the highest bar for this kind of thing.
Aw, have faith in yourself.
You're great.
You got it, Alvin.
Yeah.
I also wanted to say with Eugene, like, I don't know why it is. Well, I kind of know why it is, but I feel like Eugene gets a lot of flack, and it kind of reminds me of Nickelback in real life,
Aw.
where it just gets a lot
Eugene,
of Nickelback.
the Nickelback of Vander. I'm tweeting.
Yeah,
That's
that's
funny.
basically, yeah. I even told that in TIE Fighter
Yeah.
on a stream once, too. But, I don't know. Maybe the deck just needs a little more support, and it'll be like bonkers.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like the poor guy just has like lackluster rear guards to work with, but I feel like it's not a bad card in and of itself. It'll just yeah.
Yeah, then I dropped after that, so that was my game. I do appreciate just seeing like a good variety of deck, just because like half the decks in the tournament were fucking Bastions, so
Yeah.
the fact that I didn't see any of the Bastions and got to play
That's good.
all the more like obscure decks was nice.
Well, that's lucky for you because I did. So, when you say half the decks in the tournament were Bastion, it like we're literally gonna have that come true here. So, I brought Magnolia to the tournament, as you saw by our YouTube channel, and I played first round a mirror match against Magnolia, and the whole game I was getting my ass kicked because the guy knew how to play against his own deck and I did not. And I got an over trigger on my 5th damage, which both ended his Persona Ride turn, like, off the first damage, so, like, it just shut him down completely. And then allowed me to come back the next turn and kill him, which means I did not deserve that win at all.
Right.
Skilled.
Yeah, so, like, after that, I was like, over triggers are dumb, and I was wearing my Nexus at night shirt, and I was like, hey, check it out, and then he gave me the stink eye like I deserved, and that was it. Round 2, I got matched up against Bastion. I was like, oh, okay, so I'm probably going to run into this a lot, and then the God of Foreshadowing was like, bitch, you don't know the half of it. So I got put up against Bastion, and I knew how to play against Bastion from playing against my friend Edwin, and that is damage deny them, like by giving them just a little bit at a time, and kill Alden immediately, which I did, and I won that, and that felt deserved for once.
Good.
Yeah. Whoops. So did that, and then he never attacked my rear guards at all. So that just
Interesting decision.
Yeah.
He was that confident.
He was like that confident, and I was like, okay, so like early in that game where I put him to like 1 damage at a time, so he was like forced to make awkward decisions. And then by the time he was at 3, that was on my Persona Ride turn. I was like, I got this. He's got 3 cards in hand, so killed him from there. So round 3. This one was also against Bastion, which I did the same strategy for, but this guy knew how to play against that, so he would only call 1 rear guard at a time until he was confident he could end me. So this was just like a long grinding matchup where I actually saved my Persona Ride for a turn because I didn't think I was going to end him there. And then there was a part where I soul blasted a Magnolia out with Spiritual Body Condensation, called it back, and then used Ghost Chase to bounce it to hand and rewrite it next turn.
Nice.
That's how long this was going, where I had the time to do that. And then eventually I got the win on him. Neither of us pulled an over trigger on that.
That just sounds like a legitimately good game.
Yeah, it was a real good game. I appreciate the opponent there. Round 4, I went against Bastion again, and I was like, I am so sick of this! I took 2 Magnolias as damage early on, and I was like, this is not going well. And he just did 2 Persona Rides in a row and just punched my teeth in. I didn't really have much recourse against that. I think that's a problem for Magnolia, is that if you don't Persona Ride, you got problems.
Yep. I agree.
At least in the case of, like, if, they get him in damage, you heal him, you call him back, you bounce it with Ghost. Like, you have recourse in that case, but these were just stuck in my damage zone for the whole game. I got no heals. I drew over trigger into hand, so I had a guard with it, but that was it. The only time I actually took an over trigger as damage or on drive was in literally the first round.
Sag.
Yep. Let's see. Round 5, I went up against Bruce. Once again, neither of us got over triggers at all. I just never got mine, and he soul charged his. This one went pretty well for me, except in his push turn, I was going to be able to survive it, but I discarded glow nipples for my PG instead of discarding a PG for PG. The next turn on my Persona ride, I was like, okay, I'm going to die this turn. I might as well just drop my hand. And I called a PG in the back so I could give it power to attack with, and he took a trigger on
Realize
damage.
your mistake.
I did. I should have discarded the PG, kept glow nipples, and used glow nipples. So that made it so that he didn't have to expend as much to guard with, and then he just killed me next turn. So that was completely my fault. And then round 6 was against Nirvana. It was going real well for me, and then she double crit me on a 2 to pass with crits and took me from 4 to 6. So, she said if I had survived that turn, I would have killed her, and I was like, great, thanks, enjoy the rest of the tournament, bye. Like, I was trying to be, like, as nice as possible, like, that's just how the game works, but just, you could have salted an entire diner's worth of eggs with the amount of salt in my body at that point.
I'm sure that's how your first round opponent felt.
Yeah, I'm sure he did too. And, like, he at least stayed and talked for a second before he left, and I don't know. I was like, over-triggers are dumb. He's like, yeah, I know. I was like, I literally want them banned. He's like, yeah, me too. I'm like, you have a better reason too. Oh my god. Matt, what did you do during Springfest?
Let's see. Last weekend I was watching a lot of the premium stuff, hanging out with Discord, just hanging out, chatting it up, watching lots of Nue Dio do Nue Dio things, watching Overtriggers completely swing games of premium that otherwise could not be swung.
Yep.
Trying to figure out what some Pale Moons players' cards were. Because their camera, not Derek Dow, just some different one, and we were like, we don't know.
Yeah, I faced the Pale Moon player. His camera could have been a little bit better. Yeah.
And then this past weekend, I watched more League of Legends than Vanguard, honestly.
At least he's honest with himself.
Well,
Did you play at all?
No, I didn't play at all.
I
didn't want to actually.
You were just watching. Okay.
Yeah, I was just watching. I don't have a good setup, so I didn't want to enter and be annoying about it.
Gotcha.
So, because my situation is not conducive to Vanguard in that respect at the current moment, and I was hoping to get it better, but my lighting's really bad, so everything looks like trash.
Yeah. Oh, that was also fun where you would match up with someone and they have like just like a desk lamp pointed at them and it's just glare for days. You're like,
yeah. I didn't want to cause more problems, so I just was like, you know what, whatever.
I almost want to pick up like a cheap DSLR camera for streaming purposes, but seems a bit excessive for what we're doing at the moment.
Yeah.
Perhaps one day, patreon.com/Nexus. So, Commander Jaime, what's tell us your round by round experience if you can remember.
Yeah, definitely. For me, I entered the premium version of the tournament events. So that was actually structured to be 7 rounds of Swiss with top 8. Like I mentioned, the rounds are 30-35 minutes with 10 minutes over time. So the first round, I already kind of alluded to it. I was actually facing Morokumo no Dao, and so she went first, I believe. Yeah, she went first, I believe, and then she dropped Hoam on turn 1, and I'm like, well, it's not going to be a good time. And with my grade 1s, I'm able to like hit under because I have like cards like Gelja and then the 6K PGs.
Yeah.
But once I get to my grade 2s, they're all 10K base. So I'm going to give them a counterblast no matter what, and that's what happened. And then she went into her new Dao turn. Everything was well executed. She attacked with the Vanguard. She dealt me 2 damage because she had the dinosaur card that goes into soul to give an extra crit. And I'm like, wow, this is going to be like super hurting. But then my 5th damage was the over trigger. And so that put me at 100 million. And then it healed, obviously. And I drew a card. But she couldn't do anything else after that, And so she pretty much attacked my rear guards. I think I had a rear guard or 2 left. And then literally it was my turn. And for me, for those who don't know, Fredmir has like the abuse of Taro and then making cards like Gleipnir very big enough that you'll have a restand or beater on a force 2 marker. And so you only really need to connect like a couple times and you pretty much deal your opponent 6 damage. So with my deck, it was just get Glitner big enough, maybe 40, 50, 60, 70k, and then hit crit 2, crit 3, and then just win like that. Because most decks early enough in the game don't have enough shield to stop all of that. And if you can soul charge enough Taros and Gouches to get there, that helps with that. So a lot of my build is to stabilize for that, and a lot of soul charging cards immediately, like Crew, High T, and many others. So that's what I did, and I actually won that round that way. So
Nice.
going into the second one, I actually faced Asha, and they had a board set up on the grade 3 turn. They went first, so they had the Vanguard crit 3, and then their not Vision token, their Asha token crit 3 as well. But I was able to have like a PG or 2, so I went to 5 or something like that. And then I guarded the other one, and so I lived. And then the next turn, I rode up to grade 3, and then did the exact same thing and won. Their hand was kind of small after that, and I think they had some grade 3s, so they couldn't really stop it. And the third round was pretty interesting. I was facing against Blouse, Nova Grapplers, and the guy told me that he accidentally put his V premium list, so he didn't have a G zone.
Oh,
And yet he made it to round 3. So,
Whoa.
that's impressive. Like,
yeah, I even told him that's impressive. And so he went first, which is good for Blouse.
yeah.
And he did a restand turn and everything, but it wasn't as great. And then I got damage triggers. I damage checked triggers, so that made it a lot easier to guard with and live. And then next turn I rode up to grade 3 and did the exact same thing and won.
Mhm.
He didn't know about the Gleipnir loop either. He told me, like, wow, I didn't know that existed. I'm like, yeah, it's a thing. And then round 4 was against Royal Paladin, and it was Sanctuary Guard Dragon, but I didn't really know. But I kind of knew with the support cards that he was playing early on, because he didn't get to grade 3. I went first, and so going first in Fenrir is like the ideal thing, because once you get to grade 3, you can still do your thing while they're at grade 2,
Mhm.
and they can't even G-guard.
Yeah. Just
So-
stride while your opponent's on grade 2, and then
Well-
spam Gleipnir.
Yep.
Love being able to search Zan.
Oh yeah, yeah. But he gave me counterblast, so I didn't have to search for the Zan. I was just searching for the remaining pieces, or even soul charging more with double Kroot or triple Kroot, depending on the cards I had. And he didn't know about it either, and so he went from 2 to 3 damage to 6 that turn, and he's like, "Oh wow!" And so I kind of gave him some advice how to like counter it. And one of the things he said is like, "Wow, I didn't think I was gonna face you, Commander Jaime." And I'm like, "Oh, you know me, you know." So that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
So my opponents were saying things like, "Oh, I watch your content. Oh, I've heard of you," or something like that. Or
Yeah.
you come on my home feed on YouTube. So with the round, his turn was apart, and so I went back and actually finished it off for Blouse.
Mhm.
And oh no, not Blouse. I was on the Royal Paladin one.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it was pretty cool just to see people like they watch my content and everything. So I was like pretty humble about it, and I even gave him some advice, moving in forward in the tournament. If I saw him in top 8, this is how you prevent it. Kind of blast a 9, that kind of thing. So going into round 5, so it was the first time being unfeatured, and I was gonna face my friend Evan for Grand Blue, but he accidentally drew the second card, and what ended up happening, Bushiroad saw that, and so they made us wait about like 20 minutes.
20 minutes?
Yeah.
Good lord.
Yeah, we didn't even know what was going on, to be honest. We thought that the Twitch stream was having technical difficulties or something like that, so we're just chatting. And a judge came by and told us that Bushiroad had ruled that he was disqualified for that.
Oh my
And-
god.
What?
For like accidentally drawing a second card.
Yeah, the second card. So it was weird. So like, you know how you reach for your deck to draw a card? That card slipped his fingers, went
Yeah.
far back enough that he, by reflex, went to go grab it, but accidentally grabbed the second card below it as the draw.
Oh.
Yeah.
Dang
And
it.
so, yeah, I think that was a little too harsh, but
Yeah, that seems harsh.
That's
Especially
a-
because that's a pretty like reversible game state.
Well, no. So it's been a pretty common ruling that whenever you like if a second card touches your hand, where it's like it's now indistinguishable from your hand basically. This is so that like sleight of hand can't like any of that nonsense. But like basically like the idea is that once a card touches your hand, it's indistinguishable. It's a pretty common ruling actually for somebody to be disqualified, or at least receive a game loss in that game state. It's only recently that people have been trying to come up with alternative ways so that matches aren't decided by those kinds of mistakes. But I think the Vanguard rulings are somewhat lacking, or somewhat old-fashioned, maybe.
Yeah. Well, there's also only that it's best of one, so it's kind of hard to be like game loss in that sense.
And that's the problem with best of one in general, is right. Like, if somebody receives a game loss, then that's basically just immediate match forfeit.
Right. I mean, to go with disqualification, then he couldn't play after that, so he was done. So I didn't want to get too much into it, but that's just what happened.
That's
and we were excited to play against each other and everything. So it's not like he was cheating on or anything on purpose or anything. Though it was just an accident. So and going into round 6, that's when I started facing Pale Moon.
Oh no!
It was the player. I thought he was playing Alice because he wrote Alice, but apparently he was also playing Harry. And that was another match that was featured for a little bit. That's from what I heard, and we were going back and forth and everything. And then I was able to finish it in the stride game. Then I went to round 7. That's when I faced Derek Dow. We were both undefeated at that point. And he knew what he was doing. I mean, he rode up and pretty much didn't attack, or he would attack under if it made sense. And so he was denying me damage all the way until the stride game, which is fine. And I actually searched the Zarzan when I went to grade 3, and then popped off still with 0 damage regardless to a decent amount, just to like weaken his hand. I don't think he was expecting that either. And then after that, he was able to recover, and we went back and forth. And what's really cool with his build is that he uses like the Steripop Dragon to generate Excel circles, and then he uses like the Masquerade Harry to help with that too, to abuse it a second time.
Yeah, no, that's super fun as a combo, right? Just because you use it to draw cards. Right,
and so he was able to build his hand during that late game, and I was just like, wow, that's really cool. And so I learned a lot of things from him too, just watching him play Pale Moon, especially Harry. And then he did have the lovely companion on one turn, and I assumed he had it. So I just played it the best I could, and then he did the lovely companion, and then tricky assistant, and then basically threw Denial Griffin, my Glipnir. And pretty much after that, I couldn't do anything else, and so I lost that one, but it was a good match. And this is the one thing that I wanted to point out with the benefits of being online. I would have never faced Derek Dow unless we both went to Worlds, because he's in Australia. I'm in the United States.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty cool that we get to at least like see and face people that we know from across the world, and actually get a chance to play with them too.
Yeah.
So, and I've always like messaged Derek Dow in the group that I'm in with him, but we never had the opportunity just to hop on voice chat or even play a game against each other. So that was the first time, and we're like, oh, this is really cool. And scary at the same time, because we both know that we're good players.
Yeah.
Then we went into top 8, and like I said, we waited for a while to get started. And top 8, my first match was against Nubatama Hanzo, which was pretty cool because I'm actually playing that for fun, so I had an idea how to like deal with it. But I went first, and he had faced Fenrir before in the tournament. He told me, he's like, you know what, I'm just not gonna give you some damage. I'm gonna basically play conservatively, and that was the one thing that I added to my deck, was that, you know, during my grade 2 turn, if I have like multiple Ulysses, that's the grade 2 that goes into Saul, draws a card, and then you Soul Church another card, you can be aggro and still maintain advantage and dig deeper into your deck. And so when he didn't give me damage that grade 2 turn, I dropped 2 of them with boosters, and so 3 attacks hit. So he went to 0 to 3 damage on my grade 2 turn while he was at grade 1. And then he rode up to grade 2, fetched some grade 3s, that kind of thing, passed turn still, and then went back to me to grade 3. And one of the nastiest things is that it kind of lined up everything. When I did the drive check for my Vanguard, I actually drove check Zarzan.
Well then.
So I had it in hand, and so after that I searched any missing pieces, and then I just resolved Zarzan while he's at grade 2 at 2 damage, and then I Gleipnir once or twice, and he's like, I'm going to 6, and he showed me his hand, and he had like 3 or 4 grade 3s too, so it didn't help with his situation.
Woof.
So before he even rode to grade 3, I was able to end that. And then top 4 was interesting too, because I faced Derek Dow again. He must rode. He tried a G assist first, he missed, and he ended up riding the tricky assistant, I believe. And he was trying to recover basically, but I was still cautious because I didn't want to underestimate him, even though he wasn't in a good situation. I felt like he was a great player that he can like come back from it and actually still win. So I had to be very, conscientious of that. And we went back and forth, but ultimately I was able to win because I had that advantage too. And Lovely Companion doesn't work unless you had a Harry Vanguard too. So
Yeah.
that was a benefit. And that was, I don't know if it was that round or the prior round where they told him to make sure he have his hands too also in camera view. So we were pretty much making sure we're on that. And then the finals, I was facing a guy named Chad. He also played Murakumo. He actually also opened up with home, but I went first. So I felt like I had the advantage. The only problem that I didn't have was the Fenrir. And so when I got to my grade 3 turn, I had a miss right into Vanagander. And so the whole game I was in Vanagander, and I was just trying to make things work. And he did a new Dao turn as well, and so I had to figure out how to live that. And I think I had like 2 or 3 PGs with 1 or 2 heals to survive that. Like, it's amazing how much you need to survive that. And I didn't have a hand or a decent hand size after that, and then I still had to make things work. And then it got to the point where I went on an Amaruta, make Gleipnir crit 2 or crit 3 because it was a force 2 marker. Or no, it was crit 2. Because the Force 2 marker, I put it on Vanguard because I misrode. And so when I did Revelation, I found that I had a crit on top. And I'm like, I'm going to leave that on top and then just attack with Amaruta. And he was able to guard the Vanguard, but put the crit and trigger onto Gleipnir. And that's the one that connected. And he went to 3 to 6, but I knew he had 2 heals in hand. He had 1 in drop, but he still had 1 heal and 1 over trigger in deck. So I had a feeling that he was going to hit 1 at least, though. But that's all I can do, so I went for that play, and then 6 damage, he hit a heal, and so, yeah, after that, I kind of just died.
That's unfortunate.
But overall, it was a good experience, and I got 2nd place overall again, and, I mentioned in one of my other videos about my experiences that I haven't played in a high-level tournament for almost 3 years now, and so me coming back to the game and actually getting adjusted and, knowing that I still know how to win or top at events, that was merely my feeling that going into it, like, I know I can still do it again. If I could do it once, I could do it again. I just need to take this one game at a time and go from there, and it really served me well. So I'm really happy about that too, how it turned out.
Well, congratulations. You definitely deserved to get that win and get 2nd place, and especially because this is likely the only one they're doing from home, you get to say, I got 2nd place in a tournament from people all across the world in my pajamas or shorts in your case.
That shows true. Yeah, that's pretty true. That's pretty cool to say.
Yeah.
And is there anything you learned from this experience otherwise that you are going to take into the future of your vanguarding career?
I think one of the things is that we all have life, and so only so many events we can play and enter. This one was it just worked out for me. But moving forward, I know that I want to still do content creation and still help other players out with my deck profiles and insights and things of that nature. That's just how I am, and I like to share that. And at the same time, I like to do the interview articles too. So like right now, I already published Maxime Solom's article about how he topped, and then I'm also working on Derek Dow's and a couple other people that topped too. So being able to share content like that for people, especially for the competitive scene, I feel is very valuable because I would find that myself valuable. And so it's just me kind of giving back to the community in that respect. And if I do get to play again in events, then I'll just play again and do my best to top 8 again.
Well said. Root Beer, do you think there was anything we learned from this?
I mean, I learned some of the flaws in my deck list and flaws with the deck overall. I'm still trying to figure out how to resolve those problems because, like, Hexa Orb is so counterblast heavy. I don't want to get rid of Fasado, but also, like, bricking early hands with all grade 3s was a thing that kept happening, so, just trying to think about, like, what I can do about my deck, what I learned about it, see if I can take some of what I learned and share it to other people through our channel because, this.
X3, yeah.
not the X3, like just the channel and
Oh
stuff.
yeah. Got
Like
it.
actually trying to learn lessons and try to see how I can apply it. Still haven't figured out what deck list I want to use yet, but you know, it's something to think about.
Yeah, I learned that most of Magnolia is warm bodies, and although I said that in the before deck profile, and it certainly didn't change for the after, but a lesson I learned from this is hold on to glow nipples like your life depends on it, because it does. And persona rides are super important, and I hope that as we get more support, that it gets ways to recycle those Magnolias, either that or ways to like buff up your back row attackers or something.
Ways to persona ride consistently, please.
Yeah. Either that or just that or recycling.
It's so bad when your deck just does not function unless you persona ride.
Definitely. Which is kind of awkward because like Bastion can function without it, but you guys got hamstrung by it for some reason.
Yeah.
And same with Zorga. Zorga doesn't give a fuck. They're just like, I'm doing my own thing. Persona rides, helpful, but whatever.
I like persona writing in Zorga only because then you can the grief, despair, rejection, instead of like just front rowing it or whatever, you can do it in like
An L
where
shape.
one column gets two of them,
Yeah.
Yep.
and then you can just make up a gigantic column.
Yeah.
Yes.
To
You
make-
easily hit 33k and up too as well.
Mm-hmm. So I like persona writing in Zorga a lot. Although my problem with Zorga is finding not crap orders at useful times.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes I
Definitely.
just find like 3 condensation. I'm like, what do I do with this?
Yeah.
Use them 3 times in a row.
Yeah. Well, because you can only use one per turn, right? So you gotta.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you have
Right.
no other order, it's like,
That's
and
so
like
true.
you're calling
you
the
pretty much
sunflower
break.
girl, like
Yeah.
just milling.
Yeah,
and
come
then
on.
just desperately like alchemagicking, but oh wait, you can't alchemagic 2 condensate. Yeah, just
Yeah.
playing your condensation
know.
and just like
They shouldn't have
hoping
done that.
something happens.
What'd you
Let
say?
me soul blast
Jaime?
2, call 2 +5.
Yeah.
Pretty sure.
No, I was just saying, like, I don't know. It just sucks when you have the same order in the drop and in your hand, and it's like you can't use
Alchemagic.
Alchemagic.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Rip.
I like Zorga. I just
Yeah.
yeah.
man.
I'm enjoying Zorga, but man, trying to make decisions on like orders and crap is hard.
Sunflower
some
Girl's
practice.
great. I upped it to 4. I was playing 3 originally of Sunflower, and then I'm like, no, I need 4.
Yeah, definitely. You
See,
want to
I-
see her
It's
early.
hard actually every game.
Yes,
Yeah,
Andrina is important.
When I ordered all my Ocean Man cards, I only ordered 3 on accident. I don't know. It might have
fair.
just been that the seller I was getting it from only had the 3, and I didn't think to get a
that's
4th one.
unfortunate.
Wait, do you
Well,
need
that's
do you
fair.
need a 4th one? Do you want me to mail it to you? Or
Sure, I guess.
yeah,
I
know
recommend it.
I know where you live. It's like $1. I just
I'm sorry, what was that? That was really creepy.
what?
I know where you live.
Oh,
Are there any other things?
he knows
Man,
where
I
I
don't
live.
know.
It's cool.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, thank you for the cards, Grandma.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome, grandson. Anyway, Jaime, thanks for coming on Nexus at Night. Where can people find you on the interwebs for your stuff?
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks again for having me on the podcast. I always have a good time with you guys.
Yeah, of course.
People can find me on YouTube as One Who Gets Crits Commander Jaime. You can find me on Twitter too as Jaime Ulysses Alvarez 1. I'm sure Atlas will put it in the description below.
Definitely.
I also have my personal blog, which is Rogue of the Seven Seas on WordPress. And then I'm also part of Force of the Ocean WordPress and also AccessVanguard.com too. So I do a lot of like articles throughout the blogs themselves. And then you could always, find me on Instagram or Facebook too. So I'm sure he'll put some more of the social media links there too.
Yep.
So thanks again.
All down there, and you can find the show at Nexus at Night on Twitter or Instagram. If you want to support us, patreon.com/Nexus at Night. Thanks to our $10 patrons, Darren, Cole, and Josh. You get bonus content, whole ass bonus show called Nexus Tangents. And where can they find you guys?
Oh, you can find me on Twitter at Wiggums2Gs2Zs.
You can find me at Plasma Eclipse.
You can find me at Atlas Novak, Twitter, Instagram, or keep an eye out for my new show called Generation Dan coming out in the next few weeks. And until next time, I was Atlas.
I'm Matt.
I'm Root Beer.
And I'm Commander Jaime.
And have a good night, everybody.